The splash of water hit me like a slap across the face, cold and unyielding, as my mother's voice sliced through the humid air like a knife. "Get out! You and your brats, out of my house now." Victoria's words echoed over the poolside chatter, freezing everyone in place. I stood there, dripping wet in my modest one-piece swimsuit, my 5-year-old son clinging to my leg with wide, terrified eyes, while my 8-year-old daughter floated in the shallow end, her floaties bobbing uncertainly. The beach house, my beach house, though she didn't know it yet, loomed behind her like a silent witness, its white clapboard walls gleaming under the relentless California sun. The scent of sunscreen and grilled burgers hung heavy, mingling with the salty tang of the ocean just beyond the dunes. My heart pounded, not just from the shock, but from the raw fury uncoiling in my chest, a serpent I'd kept caged for far too long. It wasn't the first time Victoria had humiliated me, but this was public, vicious, a spectacle for the extended family she'd invited to her annual pool party. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all staring now, their plastic cups of margaritas paused mid-sip, the laughter dying like the last notes of a forgotten song. I could feel the heat rising in my face, not from the sun, but from the burning shame. How dare she? After everything I'd done, everything I'd sacrificed. My mind raced back to the day I'd bought this place 5 years ago, with the inheritance from Dad's life insurance. Money she'd squandered her share of on failed investments and lavish trips. I'd kept the deed in my name, a quiet safeguard against her recklessness, letting her believe it was a family gift, so she could play hostess without the burden of ownership. But now, as she stood there in her designer kaftan, her perfectly manicured nails pointing toward the gate, I felt the cage door creak open. "Mom, please," I managed, my voice trembling despite my efforts to steady it. My son, Tommy, whimpered, burying his face in my thigh, his small hands sticky from popsicle juice. Lily paddled closer, her eyes darting between us, sensing the storm. "The kids are just playing. We drove 3 hours to be here. Playing. They're ruining everything." Victoria snapped, her face twisted in that familiar mask of disdain. She gestured wildly at the pool, where a few inflatable toys floated aimlessly. Tommy knocked over the appetizer table again. "And Lily's been whining all afternoon. This is my party, Elena. If you can't control them, leave. I won't have my day spoiled by your failures as a mother." Failures. The word landed like a punch to the gut, echoing the litany of criticism she'd hurled at me since childhood. "You're too sensitive, Elena. Too weak. Why can't you be more like your sister?" My sister, perfect Gabriella, who wasn't even here, off in Europe with her rich husband, untouched by this familial rot. I glanced around at the relatives. Uncle Mark averting his eyes, pretending to adjust his sunglasses. Aunt Rita whispering to her husband, her lips pursed in judgment. No one defended me. Why would they? Victoria had always been the matriarch, the one who doled out favors and guilt in equal measure. I swallowed the bile rising in my throat, forcing a calm I didn't feel. "Fine. We'll go." But inside the serpent hissed. "Not yet. Not like this." As I gathered the kids' towels and toys, the rough terry cloth scraping against my wet skin, my mind churned with fragments of resentment. The drive here had been hell. Tommy carsick, Lily bickering, but I'd come for them to give them a taste of the carefree summers I'd never had. Now, watching Victoria turn back to her guests with a forced laugh, dismissing us like pests, something snapped. Humiliation burned into anger, hot and clarifying. I wouldn't just leave. I'd make her pay. The kids were silent in the car as we pulled away from the beach house, the gravel crunching under the tires like bones breaking. The ocean view shrank in the rearview mirror, a mocking reminder of what I'd built, and what she'd taken for granted. Tommy sniffled in his booster seat, clutching his favorite shark toy. "Why is Grandma mad, Mommy?" "She's just having a bad day, sweetie," I lied, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. But my thoughts were darker, swirling like storm clouds. Bad day. She's had a lifetime of them at my expense. Flashbacks assaulted me, her affair that shattered our family when I was 12, Dad's quiet devastation until his heart gave out. Her manipulation of the will, claiming more than her share. The way she'd borrowed money from my college fund for her business ventures, leaving me buried in debt. I'd forgiven it all, or tried to, for the sake of family. Bought this house as a peace offering, a place for reunions. Let her host her parties, play the gracious queen. But today, kicking us out in front of everyone. That was the final betrayal. By the time we reached the motel an hour away, a dingy place with threadbare carpets and the faint smell of mildew, I was obsessing. The kids crashed on the lumpy bed, exhausted from the sun and drama, their small chests rising and falling in innocent sleep. I paced the room, the fluorescent light buzzing overhead like my racing thoughts. She thinks it's hers. Her. But no. The deed was in my safe deposit box, my name alone on it. I'd never transferred it, a whisper of doubt holding me back. Now that doubt felt like providence. Revenge flickered in my mind, tentative at first. A fantasy of storming back, papers in hand, evicting her mid-toast. But doubt crept in. Was I really this petty? This vengeful? She's your mother, a voice whispered. Blood. Yet the anger drowned it out. Heartbreak twisted into resentment, sharp and unyielding. I sank into the armchair, its fabric worn and scratchy, and pulled out my phone. Scrolled through old texts. Her demands for money, her criticisms of my divorce from Mark. You drove him away, Elena. Her gushing about Gabriella's successes. Each one fueled the fire. Guilt nagged, the kids love her, but so did resolve. I wouldn't act rashly. No, this needed planning. Subtle. Suspenseful. Let her enjoy her party a little longer. Bask in her illusion of control. Tomorrow I'd return. Not with fury, but with a smile. And the truth. Sleep came fitfully. Dreams haunted by the pool's turquoise water turning red with rage. Morning brought clarity, cold and precise. I dressed the kids in their best clothes. Tommy in his little polo, Lily in her sundress, promising a surprise visit to Grandma. They beamed, oblivious to the storm brewing. As we drove back, the coastal highway winding like a noose, I rehearsed my words. Collected. But inside, obsession gripped me. Visions of her face crumpling, the family's shock, her empire of facades crumbling. Fear flickered. What if she fights back? What secrets does she hold? But I pushed it down. This was justice long overdue. The beach house came into view, its decks still littered with party remnants. Empty bottles glinting in the sun, streamers fluttering like defeated flags. Cars lined the driveway. The party had spilled into a second day, as Victoria's often did. I parked at the end, heart hammering. The kids skipped ahead, excited. Grandma! We're back! Lily called. Victoria emerged from the sliding glass doors, her face paling beneath her makeup. Elena! What are you doing here? I thought I made myself clear. I forced a smile, brittle as glass. We need to talk, Mom. Privately. My voice was steady, but inside the serpent coiled tighter. The family watched from the pool, murmurs rising like steam. Tension thickened the air, heavy with unspoken threats. She led me inside, the cool tile floor a shock against my sandals. The living room smelled of stale smoke and spilled wine. Family photos on the walls mocking our fractured bond. If this is about yesterday, she huffed, crossing her arms. You overreacted. The kids were out of control. Out of control. I echoed, my voice low. Anger simmered, but I held it. Like how you've controlled everything. The money, the narratives, this house. Her eyes narrowed. This is my house, Elena. Dad left it to me in spirit. In spirit. The lie fueled me. I pulled the envelope from my bag. The deed, notarized and irrefutable. But I didn't show it yet. Let the suspense build. Is it, Mom? Really? Doubt flickered in her eyes, quickly masked. What are you implying? I leaned in, whispering. You'll see. Heart pounding, I stepped back, savoring the uncertainty etching her features. The game had begun. As the afternoon wore on, I lingered, playing the dutiful daughter. Helped clean up, chatted with relatives, all while Victoria shot me wary glances. Inside, my thoughts raced. She suspects something. But guilt gnawed. Am I destroying the family? But resentment overpowered it. By evening, as the sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the waves in fiery hues, I felt the resolve harden. Tomorrow the reveal. But first let her stew. That night, alone in the guest room she'd grudgingly offered for the kids' sake, she said, I lay awake, the oceans roar a symphony to my plotting. Moral conflict tore at me. Revenge or reconciliation. Yet the humiliation replayed, vivid and visceral. No turning back. The next morning dawned crisp, the sea air carrying the promise of reckoning. I woke to the sound of waves crashing, relentless as my determination. The kids played on the beach below, their laughter a stark contrast to the storm inside me. Victoria was in the kitchen, brewing coffee, her movements tense, like a predator sensing ambush. Sleep well, she asked, her tone laced with false sweetness. Like a baby, I replied, accepting the mug. The ceramic was hot against my palms, mirroring the fury I'd banked overnight. We sat at the breakfast bar, the granite cool and unyielding. Family members trickled in, Aunt Rita nursing a hangover, Uncle Mark flipping pancakes. The atmosphere crackled with unspoken tension. Yesterday's whispers had evolved into sidelong glances. I waited until everyone gathered, the pool sparkling invitingly outside. I have something to share, I announced, my voice cutting through the chatter. Hearts seemed to pause. Forks hovered midair. Victoria's eyes locked on mine, a mix of defiance and fear. What is this, Elena? More drama? She scoffed, but her hands trembled slightly. I pulled out the envelope, sliding the deed across the counter. This house isn't yours, Mom. It never was. Silence descended, thick as fog rolling in from the sea. She snatched the paper, her face draining of color as she scanned it. This can't be. You said it was a gift. A gift with strings, I said softly, but my words carried venom. I bought it with Dad's money, my share. Kept it in my name because I knew you'd ruin it like everything else. Gasps rippled through the room. Uncle Mark's pancake flipped forgotten, burning on the griddle. Aunt Rita's mouth gaped. The kids, sensing the shift, froze in the doorway. Victoria's composure cracked, her voice rising. You liar. You manipulated me. Let me pour money into this place, host parties, make it a home. Money. My money, I countered, the anger spilling out. The renovations, the upkeep, I paid for it all. You just played pretend queen. She slammed the deed down, tears welling, rare for her. Why? After everything I've done for you. Done for me. Laughter bubbled up, bitter and unhinged. You mean the affairs, the debts, the constant belittling. Kicking me and my kids out yesterday was the last straw. The family erupted in murmurs. Is this true, Victoria? Aunt Rita demanded. Victoria whirled on her. Stay out of it. This is between me and my ungrateful daughter. But I pressed on, the suspense I'd built exploding into revelation. It's over, Mom. Pack your things. You're out by noon. Her face contorted, rage, heartbreak, a mirror of my own buried pain. You can't do this. I'll fight you in court. Try, I said, cold resolve stealing me. The deed is ironclad. As she stormed upstairs, slamming doors, the family turned to me with a mix of awe and unease. Tommy tugged my hand. Mommy, is Grandma leaving? For a while, sweetie, I whispered, guilt stabbing sharp. Was this justice or cruelty? The obsession that had driven me now left a hollow ache. Hours later, as Victoria loaded her car, bags haphazardly thrown in, her kaftan rumpled, the twist came. She paused at the door, her voice low, broken. You think this is revenge? Fine. But know this, your father. He wasn't yours. The affair produced you. Gabriella is his real daughter. The world tilted. Shock numbed me as she drove away, dust kicking up like scattered lies. Inner turmoil raged. Betrayal upon betrayal. Had my whole life been a facade? The house felt empty now, its beauty tainted. Revenge tasted like ash, poetic justice twisted into unforeseen pain. Yet as the sun set, the ocean whispering secrets, a new resolve formed. Not vengeance but truth-seeking. The pursuit wasn't over, it had just begun. The kids played on, innocent, while I stood on the deck, wind whipping my hair, heart heavy with the weight of revelations. In the end, betrayal birthed not just revenge, but rebirth. Morally gray, yes, but mine.